Hello, I'm just checking to see if my microphone's working. I'm not sure if it is. It says it's connected, so I'm not sure. Is it working now? Just checking. Hello, I'm just checking to see if my microphone's working. I'm not sure if it is. It says it's connected, so I'm not sure. Is it working now? Just checking.
Could you turn yours down? I don't want it to echo.
Alright. Hello, welcome. Just trying to figure out how to bring up YouTube chat so I can see it. I have to change this. Alright. I'll probably just have to do this so I can see the chat. Alright, so last time we have our team here. We've got Callum, Freya the Ponyta, Periwinkle the Pidgey, Pablo the Piplup, Bugs Bunnelby, and Blueberry the Steenie. And we have just beaten one of the trainers, or multiple trainers, but a specific trainer by the name of Fisher Darien, right here. We did not pick up the heart scale right here by the boat, so we're gonna go do that right now. And then there's a man in this house that should take us on this boat, but we'll get to that in a minute. So first, we have to go pick up that heart scale. Because heart scales, again, are very important in this game. They are a limited resource. There's only 31 of them in the entire game. So we have to make sure we collect all of them, because we're going to need them. This lady is not a trainer. We don't have to worry about her. We can just go up. The old lady on the right, she's not a trainer. Pretty sure. Just gonna double check. Yeah, she doesn't have a name, so she's not a trainer. There is a lady Cindy over here that is a trainer. So if we want to fight her, we have to be careful. But first, we are going to get these berries. There's some more orange berries here. 76. Excellent. We are never going to run out of orange berries. And then over here, we have cherry berries, which cure paralysis. Welcome, Watch Captain Elaine. Alright, so we've got Lady Cindy over here. So we're going to look up Lady Cindy. Should have had this opened already, but that's okay. Alright. Lady Cindy. Alright. I believe our team has not changed since the last time. Yeah, it's all the same, so we don't have to change anything just yet for the calculator. They're all in here. I wonder if there's a way where I can change the view on this, if I could zoom in a little bit. I don't see it right now, unfortunately, but Alright, as of right now, Lady Cindy starts with a Chinchino, or a Minccino. Attract is annoying because it can make it so our Pokemon do not act sometimes if it's the opposite gender. So because it is male, all our females have a chance to be attracted. Oranberry means it'll heal 10 HP. Modest plus special attack. And it's pretty fast too at 23 speed, so I think Freya might be the only one that's faster. So we'll start out with Freya, who's faster than Minccino, level 10. And it also has Thunder Wave, which means it can paralyze us. So we probably want to give whoever we lead with a Cherry Berry so that they don't get paralyzed. Alright, so looking at the matchup here, Swift is the highest damage move, though it is more likely to do Thunder Wave turn 1. So what we can do here is we can either give whatever Pokemon we lead with an Oranberry to heal, or a Cherry Berry to avoid paralysis. I'm more inclined to go Cherry Berry, because paralysis, as we saw previously with the fight with the fisherman, can be very, very bad. It can stop you from acting entirely, it reduces your speed a lot, and this Minccino is already very fast, so I would probably want to lead with a Pokemon that's faster, like Freya. Go for Stomp, again for the flinch chance, and unfortunately it's not a guaranteed 3-hit KO, because it only does 32.3% minimum, so 34% would be minimum damage to get a 3-hit guaranteed. So it's a bit of a roll to see if we would get it. So assuming we go in with Freya, turn 1, we do Stomp. That's 32% minimum. Let's assume they don't flinch, and they do Thunder Wave turn 1. Cherry Berry cures it, so we don't take any damage turn 1. We Stomp again, 32%, that is 64%. They Thunder Wave again, which means we're paralyzed, we are now slower. And that's where it gets tricky, because now they're doing a lot of damage with Swift. So after they paralyze us, they are always going to do Swift, because they never go for a move that afflicts status when you already have a status like paralysis. So they're always doing Swift. So assuming we do not get paralyzed, which is a big if, they would be doing Swift. We would act after. So they've taken 64% minimum from Stomp. So turn 1 Stomp, they Thunder Wave, we cure Thunder Wave with Cherry Berry. Turn 2 Stomp, they Thunder Wave, we are paralyzed, and that's if we don't get a flinch on either of those 2 turns. After that, it's probably better to start doing Ember. Or what we could do is we could Tail Whip turn 1 and reduce their defense by 1. So we are doing minimum 50% with Stomp if we Tail Whip turn 1. And they have no way to stop us. They don't have Growl or anything to stop us. Cute Charm doesn't work. Well, it would work, unfortunately, because Freya is female. No, Freya's male. Really? I have to double check that. No, Freya's female, so I don't know why it says male in the calculation. So that's unfortunate that Freya's male. Or Freya's female. Because now Cute Charm has a chance to infatuate because we're the opposite gender. Anytime we hit them with a physical move, there's a chance to infatuate. So if we lead with Freya, we would have to do Ember, and that's really not good, because infatuation plus paralysis is really bad to deal with. So we would preferably want to lead with a male Pokemon like Callum, for example. Unfortunately, the Intimidate doesn't really matter here because it doesn't have any physical moves. It just has Swift and Thunder Wave. But Cute Charm and Attract will not work on any male Pokemon we use. So using Callum as an example here, let's give Callum a Cherry Berry up here. Yeah, so unfortunately, Callum isn't quite doing enough damage, and it's doing a lot of damage back to us with Swift. Let's do, if we do Leer, similar to how we were doing with Freya, it is faster, so it'll do Thunder Wave, most likely do Thunder Wave turn 1, but there is a 33% chance that you can see up here that it does Swift. And Swift is doing an average of minimum 27%, so probably best case scenario, we could get a 4-hit KO on Callum, so it would use 4 Swifts, and we would be using 4 bites, or Leer and 3 bites. So if we do Leer, it's at -1 defense. Yeah, so even with a Leer, it's not a guaranteed 3-hit with Callum, so I don't think we want to lead with Callum here. Unfortunately, I don't think he does enough damage. So, let's try Pidgey. Pidgey, I have to check again. Pidgey is male. I don't know why it defaults to female. So Pidgey's male. So Cute Charm. And Attract won't work. But again, it's doing so much damage with Swift, and we're not doing enough with Tackle. It's really just a roll to see if we do the damage we need, and we're slower. So we're quickly running out of options here. Bugs Bunnelby is slower. I'm gonna look up what Cheek Pouch does just so I know. So Cheek Pouch restores the HP. Yeah, so if we give Bunnelby a Cherry Berry, it will cure a status and restore HP. It should, because that's what it says. Yeah, HP is restored when it eats any berry in addition to the berry's usual effect. So Cherry Berry is the play if we choose to go with Bunnelby. Alright, let's do 2-hit double slap. Cherry Berry. Alright, so looking at this matchup, it's doing even more damage to Bugs Bunnelby, and we do have a guaranteed 3-hit KO, which is nice. So, but it also has a guaranteed 3-hit. So what we would have to do is alright, so what we would have to do is turn 1, we are slower by 1 point. It has 23 speed, we have 22. Even with 30 speed IVs, we're still slower than it. So what we would have to do is we would have to quick attack turn 1. Hope that it's Thunder Wave because we're holding a Cherry Berry, and we would be cured, take no damage that turn. Turn 2, quick attack again. If they Thunder Wave again, it's unfortunate, because then we have to risk a paralysis. But if we break through paralysis, we take it out without taking any damage, which is really nice. But assuming we get paralyzed over and over, it could quickly stack up against us. and we don't have any other Pokemon. The only other Pokemon we have that's faster is Freya. So if we get into a position where Bugs Bunny gets low, we can theoretically switch in Freya if we need to, but Freya does take a lot of damage from Swift. So let's assume we come in on a Swift crit. We are still faster, so thankfully, no matter what, even if it crits us with a Swift when we switch in Freya, it cannot take us out in one hit, and we can outspeed and take it out with Ember. Let's take away that minus defense. So, yeah, we can always take it out because Bugs Bunny does a minimum... Well, he was doing a minimum. What was I... How did I do that? Why did his damage suddenly go down? Well, clearly I missed something. Oh, it was the -1 defense, of course. I had it at -1 defense the whole time. So now, leading Bugs Bunny is really bad. Because Quick Attack is 5 hits. So we could theoretically get 40% damage done off of 2 Quick Attacks. And Bugs Bunny should be male. Let's check. Bugs is male, so we can basically use everybody except Steenie and Freya at the start of the battle because they're female. Alright. So we could do 40% damage from 2 Quick Attacks. We can always do that. And most likely it's going to Thunder Wave. If it doesn't, it will Swift. And Swift is doing a lot of damage. If it crits one Swift, we have to switch immediately. The problem is we don't know if it will crit or not. It's random. So we will survive one Swift, but it could crit on the second one. So we've checked Callum, Freya, Bugs Bunny, and Periwinkle the Pidgey. We've not checked Steenie, but again, we don't really want to lead with Steenie because she could get paralyzed, or she could get charmed with either Attract or Q-Charm. I think Q-Charm only activates if you make contact, and again, Razor Leaf is not doing enough damage for a 3-hit. If we do Play Nice, again, I believe Play Nice reduces attack and special attack. It just lowers attack. But it works through Protect, which is nice. But that won't help us because it doesn't have any physical attacks. Last but not least is Pablo the Piplup, who, again, does not do enough for a 3-hit. Growl doesn't matter. So what we might have to do is lead Callum and glare it, maybe, to get the speed advantage. That would be useful. If we lead with Callum, Swift is doing minimum 27%. Once again, a crit can take us out, theoretically. If it does a max Swift roll on Callum, 36.3, plus a crit, that would be 36 plus 54 is 90. 90.8. So it can't take us out even with max roll and crit Swift. but Callum is slower. So, because Callum is slower, I'm pretty sure it's disincentivized to use Thunderwave, and it's not going to use Attract because Callum is male. So it should always use Swift because we're slower. So what we could do is turn 1, we could do a Leer or Glare. If we do Leer, we're doing more damage overall. Swift turn 1, we Leer. Defense goes down. Swift again. Can never take us out. So what we should do is probably give Callum a... No. We have to give him a Cherry Berry just in case it decides to go for Thunderwave, because it says there's a 53% chance it goes for Thunderwave despite us being slower. So I'm going to work under the assumption that it is more likely to... It is more likely to use Thunderwave than Swift, which means I have to give him a Cherry Berry and not an Oran Berry. I don't think Oran Berry would really help us that much because it does so much damage. Alright, so lead with Callum, Leer turn 1. Assuming it does do Swift twice, we could theoretically get 2 Leers on it to take it to -2. But if it does Swift twice in a row, we will then have to switch into a Swift. So let's assume we switch to Freya on a critical Swift. That's 52%. We are faster, but we would have to dodge a crit on the next turn because 52.9 plus 35 is 88% max if it does not get a crit. So, but it likes to use Thunderwave against things that are faster. So we switch in on a Swift. We did no damage with Callum because we leered it twice. So we could do 1 Stomp and do minimum 64%. There's a chance we get affected by Cute Charm. If that happens, we will have to switch again because we can't risk Cute Charm infatuating us and making it so we cannot move. So we will have to switch again. So it may not be worth it to go immediately into Freya. Periwinkle... Wow, even with 2 Leers, Periwinkle is not doing enough damage. How about Steenie? Razorleaf does not make contact. So we switch in. Steenie is slower, which is unfortunate because that means we're taking 3 Swifts. 1 on the switch in, and then... Yeah, it's too high risk because if even one of the Swifts crit, we have to switch again. So, let's see. Let's see Bugs Bunnelby's damage. 2 hits. Even with a -2 defense, quick attack is not doing enough. It theoretically could, but it's not guaranteed. And switching in on a Swift, it just takes way too much damage. So, Piplup. Pluck does minimum 50%, but we are slower. So again, we're taking 3. Because one when we switch, and then 2 more because we're slower. So, assuming we get crit by 1, so 47% plus 31% is 88% or 78%. Yeah, so if one of them crits, it could kill us. But if only here's the problem, is we switch in on a Swift. Let's assume we take 31.5%. That leaves us at 68.5. I don't know why this is being so difficult. Alright, so that would leave us at 26 HP, so that's 12 damage. Alright, so 12 damage when we switch in, 12 damage, yeah. So Pluck, it does have an Oran Berry, so assuming it crits on the second one, 47.3, that would take us to 31%. 31.5 plus 47.3 is 78, 79. So we're at 21%. I don't know why it's doing this again. I don't know. Anyway. 21% would be, what, 12? 6, 8. Alright, so we would be at 8 health. That would take us to 18. So if we... so max health is 38. Assuming we switch in on a crit, that would take us to 52%, which would be 20, I believe. Yeah, 19 or 20. If it crits again, that would take us to 6%, which is 4 HP? No, it's 2. 3 HP is 6%. 2. Okay. So if it crits us twice, we would only get to 12 HP. So if it crits twice, it would take us to 12 HP after Oran Berry, and that's assuming we don't get paralyzed by Thunderwave. So, but it does have an Oran Berry, so using Pluck to eat its Oran Berry would get us to... Alright, so let's assume we switch to Piplup on a critical hit Swift. That would take us to 52%. So about 20 HP. That's not quite half with it, which is a little bit unfortunate, because we would want to go below half to activate the Oran Berry. So that's on the switch in if we get crit. If we get crit again, that's down to 6%. Yeah, so we would then eat our Oran Berry, so that'd get us to 12. And then we would hit with Pluck and eat their Oran Berry, which would get us to 22. And then they would have no way to take us out, even with a critical hit Swift. We can't get Cute Charmed because Pablo is male. Pablo is male. And then we would take it out with another pluck, guaranteed. Assuming it never uses Thunder Wave is the problem, because then we're slower anyway, so it's disincentivized to use Thunder Wave. Alright, so the plan so far is start with Callum to use 2 Leers to get it to -2 defense so that we can take it out with 2 plucks guaranteed. But there's a chance of paralysis. It's lower because Piplup is slower. So we just kind of have to hope that it never uses Thunder Wave. I know the calculator says it's more likely, but there's always a chance it doesn't use it. If it does, we're slower anyway, but if at any point we do get paralyzed, we'd have to switch. But we will get to that if it happens. For right now, this works, so I'm going to move on to the next Pokemon, which I have no idea which one it would send out next. Probably Jigglypuff, because it would see that Phanpy is weak to a water move from Piplup, so it would send in Jigglypuff. Also has Cute Charm, Male, really annoying. Oranberry to heal. It is very slow though, so because it's so slow, it might send in Phanpy first, because Phanpy has Stomp and it is faster than Piplup. So that's unfortunate, because we would really want to switch in Callum against this Phanpy to lower its attack so that Stomp isn't doing so much damage. I mean, it's not doing that much damage right now, but Piplup will already be low from the damage from Minccino. So, because it's faster, Stomp has a chance to flinch. And Bubble doesn't even guarantee to hit this, so it's faster. So Piplup would be at... Let's see, how much damage? Assuming it... It crits turn 1. Let's assume they're all crits, worst case scenario. It would take us down to 52%. So about 20 HP. It would then use probably Swift again, because we are slower. And then it would take us down to 6%, which is 2 HP. And then we would go up to 22 because we use our Oranberry and then eat its Oranberry. And then if it crits Swift again, it would take us down to 11%. Well, it would take us down to 4 HP. Yeah. So if it crits all of them, if not, then we'd be at higher HP. But this is worst case scenario. So because we're at such low HP, it would probably just send out the Pokemon that's faster, because it would see that it always kills with Stomp. So it would send in Phanpy, even though Phanpy is weak to Bubble, a water move. So it's always using Stomp. And unfortunately, Callum would also be too low from all the damage from Swift, because let's assume... Yeah, so we are slower, so it's disincentivized to use Thunder Wave. Let's see, so... Assume it crits. Crit Swift just takes out Callum in 2 hits, so I don't know if it's really worth it to lead with him. We may as well lead with Piplup, because Piplup is already... No, we can't lead with Piplup because we have to Leer this Minccino, so we have to hope that we don't get crit, because if we do, then we have to switch straight away, and we would only get 1 Leer off, and everything is slower. Except Freya, who Freya could come in and do Tail Whip to do the same thing, basically. And we might... Honestly, starting with Freya would probably be better, because Freya is faster, so it's incentivized to use Thunder Wave. So we start with Freya, do 2 Tail Whips, and maybe do some chip damage with Ember. So let's try this. Start with Freya, Tail Whip turn 1, it Thunder Waves, we have Cherry Berry, so we heal. We are faster turn 2, and we do 50% with Stomp, but there's a chance for Cute Charm to happen. And it has Oran Berry, so Oran Berry would take it out of Stomp range anyway. So we Tail Whip again, turn 2, -2. Assume Thunder Wave again. We are now paralyzed, so we're slower. Swift is doing a lot of damage. We could stay in for 1 turn and do Stomp, because that's a lot of damage done with Stomp. And then just hope not to get paralyzed. And that would take care of its Oran Berry. But we kind of want the Oran Berry for healing on Piplup, because Piplup is taking 3 hits from this thing no matter what. And Pluck gives us the opponent's berry if it's not eaten yet. Yeah, the problem here is that we could get paralyzed or attracted or Cute Charm. And either way, if that happens, we have to switch. So we want to leave this thing's berry intact for Piplup. So we just Tail Whip twice, preferably at Thunder Waves twice to slow us down. We're then slower on turn 3. And we could stay in for 1 turn to just try to do some damage, but if it uses Attract and we get immobilized, or if we are paralyzed and we do not move, we don't deal any damage to it. Which I guess is fine, because we're trying to do the damage with Piplup anyway. And we already calculated that Piplup takes this out with 2 Plucks, because its defense is -2, and Piplup does minimum 50% with Pluck. So, and we already calculated that it can survive 3 critical hits. And then, because Piplup would be at such low health and it's slower than Phanpy, Phanpy would probably come in. So what we could then do is, because we didn't use Callum to do the defense lowering, we could send in Callum now to get that attack drop on a Stomp. So Stomp is now doing very little damage. And this thing does not have a ground move, so Callum is relatively safe. Cute Charm, but it doesn't matter because Callum is male. Callum is faster, so we could just start doing Bite, but its defense is really high, so let's assume we do Leer turn 1. So that's still too many hits. Well, it can't do anything to us, really, so we can just kind of stay in and keep leering it. -2 Leer. Alright, so that's 4 hits. So we would take 2 hits, and then we're faster. And it has an Oran Berry, unfortunately. It really sucks that this thing is faster than Piplup, because Piplup would be doing so much more damage with Bubble, but we can't rely on it because it would be at such low health. If it's not at low health when Minccino goes down, then we could maybe consider it. But even if it's at, like, half health, Stomp is still doing a fair bit of damage, so it could potentially it could two hit us with a critical hit. But assuming it doesn't crit, 26 and 26 is 52. So even just 2 stomps max roll or a crit could take us out, even if we're at 18 HP. And we would only do 43% in return. And a crit could theoretically just take us out if we're at 10 HP, or even 15 HP, it could take us out, so we kind of have to lead with Callum and do the Intimidate strategy. And just hope that we flinch with some bites because this thing is slower. And after we leer twice, it is a guaranteed 4-hit. So this thing would be getting 1, 2... It would be getting guaranteed 5 hits on Callum if we never switch. Which we probably would want to at some point, right? So, assuming that we cannot solo this with Callum because it crits or something. Yeah, crit is doing so much damage. If at any point Callum gets to 65%, which is 21 HP, we have to switch because crit stomp is 45%. Well, 45.4, so 65% is what? There's a chance we could survive. There's a chance. We could go Steenie after the Intimidate and the Leer. Two crit stomps would not take us out, but Attract and Cute Charm... Well, Attract could get us because we are female and it's male. But we are faster, so... I think that's what we do, is we switch in Callum, we do 2 Leers to get it to -2 defense, or even -1. And then send in Steenie. Do we even need to Leer? Yes, we do. So we Leer once. Razor Leaf does minimum 63%. It should never attract Callum because Callum is male. So we switch in on a crit stomp. Does 48%. Takes us to 51. Never takes us below half. We are faster, so we Razor Leaf. If we crit, there's a chance we take it out, but if not, that's fine. Because another crit stomp can never take out Steenie. And then we heal with Oranberry, and we take it out with another Razor Leaf. So Callum and Steenie for Phanpy. Freya and Pablo for Minccino. And then last is the Jigglypuff. Gets switched in. It is male. So, what we would need to do is... This thing also has a Oranberry. It can heal with Draining Kiss, it can paralyze with Thunder Wave, it can attract, it can use Round. This thing is very annoying. Yeah, it's doing some damage to Steenie. It is slower, so it's incentivized to use Thunder Wave. And unfortunately, depending on what damage we're at, it could go for a damaging move. But for now, let's assume it would go for Thunder Wave. So we could, but we would need... We don't need an Oran Berry on Phanpy because it never takes us out with 2 crits, so we don't need to heal. So we could put a Cherry Berry on Steenie and do some chip damage with Razor Leaf. 28.2%, and then it does Thunder Wave. We cure it with Cherry Berry. We do another Razor Leaf, so that's 56%, which is very nice. It Thunder Waves again. Again, if we're healthy, we can risk this. Alright, so assuming we can get off 2 Razor Leafs, that is 56% minimum. And then we would switch into... Pidgey, maybe. Pidgey is faster. Assuming we're already paralyzed, it would never paralyze on the switch. So it would probably do round on Steenie. So critical hit round does 57%, which is a lot of damage. But if we have Oran Berry, that can heal us out. We may just want to do Cherry Berry on this because it's doing no damage. Look at this. So 56% plus 30% is 86%, which is not nearly enough, unfortunately. So Bugs Bunnelby is probably the better option. So we switch in. Round is just doing so much damage to Bugs Bunnelby, though. Look at this. Even without crit. So with crit, we would have to do Oran Berry on him to just get that healing. And then we are faster, so it would want a Thunder Wave, unfortunately. But we have to go Oran Berry for the healing. Because otherwise, 44% plus 64% is over 100%. So we have to play around the crit. We have to go Oran Berry. We switch on Steenie, who's done hopefully 56% to this Jigglypuff. And unfortunately, yeah, we would have to do 1 Leer to guarantee Quick Attack takes it out. Not in 1 hit, though, which is unfortunate. It'd be 2 hits, and then we'd be paralyzed. So that may be a chance we have to take, or Steenie could be healthy, but as for right now, that's what we're dealing with. So we start with Minccino and Freya. And Freya is doing Tail Whip to lower defense to -2. And we equip the Cherry Berry on the Freya. And then Pablo has a Oran Berry. Yeah, Oran Berry. And then he takes out Minccino with 2 plucks and heals with the pluck, steals its Oran Berry so it cannot heal. So Freya, lead Freya, Tail Whip twice, Switch to Piplup, pluck twice, Minchino's down. Piplup is probably at low enough HP that Fanpy comes in because it's faster than Seize Kill with Stomp. So we switch to Callum. We Intimidate it once, and then we Leer it once. So that Steenie comes in and takes it out with 2 Razor Leafs. And unfortunately, we're still taking a fair bit of damage from Stomp. So, assuming it does not crit, we would only take 42% or 43%. So we would be at 57%. So unfortunately so we want to give Steenie a Cherry Berry because it is faster than Jigglypuff. And we give Callum a Oranberry, I believe, because Callum is faster than Jigglypuff. So if we need to switch in on Jigglypuff, we can. Fanpy is doing how much after Intimidate? Not very much, but we are taking 2 turns, so we're taking 30%, so we're at 70%, or we're at 58%. Yeah, so we would want to give Callum a Cherry Berry. Because it's faster than Jigglypuff. So if we need to switch in Callum to Jigglypuff, we can. Alright, so these two have Cherry Berries. Piplup has an Oranberry, Freya has a Cherry Berry. Both Bugs and Periwinkle have Oranberries, but I don't think it'll matter. Alright. So lead with Freya, Tail Whip twice. That gets Minchino to into range so that 2 plucks take it out. Yeah, 2 plucks. Fanpy probably comes in because it sees it's faster and probably takes out Piplup. If it, for some reason, is Jigglypuff, I don't really see why it would be, other than it does more damage, but it is slower. And then we could, theoretically, if we're healthy enough, we could use Piplup to pluck Jigglypuff's berry as well. So we don't really have to worry if Jigglypuff comes in first, because we just pluck and eat its berry and we should be fine. So we lead with Freya, Tail Whip twice. Lead with Freya, Tail Whip twice, takes Minchino down to -2 defense. Switch to Piplup, take it out with 2 plucks. Fanpy probably comes in. Switch to Callum to intimidate it. We Leer once so that 2 Razor Leafs always kill. We switch to Steenie, do 2 Razor Leafs. Jigglypuff comes in. And then from there we do potentially some chip damage with Razor Leaf, if we're healthy enough. Yeah, 28%. Let's see. And then Steenie has a Cherry Berry, so can potentially do potentially do 2 Razor Leafs if it does not attract us. Which would be 56%, and then... If we could find some way to guarantee Draining Kiss, that'd be nice, because then we could switch in Callum and he would take no damage from it. Yeah. But there's unfortunately no way to guarantee Draining Kiss. At least not on Steenie, so... Depending how healthy Steenie is when Jigglypuff switches in, we can potentially do two Razor Leafs if it goes for Thunder Wave. But we're just gonna have to play it as it happens. So, lead with Freya. We save here. I know that took a lot of planning, but this is what's required. Just to double check everybody has the right item. Cherry Berry on Freya, Oranberry on Piplup, Cherry Berry on Callum, Cherry Berry on Steenie, Oranberry on Bunnelby, and Oranberry on Periwinkle. I think I'll switch Periwinkle's item to a Cherry Berry, just in case we have to switch it in and it uses Thunder Wave. Alright. Let's do this. Lady Cindy, clearly an issue. This could potentially lead to our first death. Alright, so we Tail Whip. Defense fell. Thunder Wave, excellent. Oh, it missed. Great. Okay, so Thunder Wave missed. So that means that we still have our Cherry Berry intact. So it still wants to do Thunder Wave on turn 2. So now we have to go back to the calculator because we didn't plan for this. It's already -1 defense. -1. So Stomp does do 50%, but when we hit it, Cute Charm will activate and we will be infatuated. Most likely. I don't know if it's guaranteed, but it's a very high chance. Let's look up Cute Charm. Hit by a move that makes contact, 30% chance attacker becomes infatuated. Yeah. So there's a 1 in 3 chance, basically, of Freya becoming infatuated if we hit Stomp. Yes, so I have to try to plan for all eventualities to the best of my ability, because if at any point all of my Pokemon faint, I have to start over from the beginning. Yeah, planning it out, pre-gaming everything is where the strategy comes in to try and plan so that bad stuff does not happen. So I can never plan for everything, obviously. Crits can happen, misses can happen, like just now, Thunder Wave missed. So I can do Stomp here, but there's a 30% chance that we get infatuated, and then on my next turn, I will still be faster, but there's a high chance that I won't move anyway because I'm infatuated. So I still need to do a second Tail Whip because Piplup only does 50% after 2 Tail Whips. So I have to do Tail Whip again, and then I could Stomp it and maybe get a flinch. So we Tail Whip again because it missed Thunder Wave. It will probably Thunder Wave again. Yeah, so this Thunder Wave hit, but our Cherry Berry activates, and we are no longer paralyzed. So now, because it's -2 defense, we have to look back here. It is -2. Stomp does 64%, so we may not even have to use Piplup. We may be able to do Bugs Buntleby. Yeah, so because Bugs Buntleby's quick attack deals 44%, he is never taken out by a crit Swift on the switch-in, which is what we're going to do here in a second. Quick attack always takes it out because Stomp does 64% and quick attack does 44%. So 64 plus 44 is 108. So Bugs Buntleby originally wasn't in the plan at all, but he's going to be coming in here because I want to keep health on Piplup for that Fanpy, just so I have an easier time with Fanpy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Stomp here, and maybe we get a flinch, but we'll see. Stomp. There's its Oranberry. Oh, that's why. Okay, so I made a mistake, unfortunately. There's Thunderwave again. We did not get infatuated, but we are now slower. So now, because I messed up again, we activated its Oranberry, so it healed back to about 54% maybe. It looks like it's about 19 or 20 HP. Maybe 18. Kind of hard to tell. I wish I had that ruler thing, but it looks like it's probably 19. Let's say 20 HP. It's at 59%. So 2 quick attacks will take it out, but because we're paralyzed, it is never going to use Thunderwave now. It may use Attract, but so because we are paralyzed, it will never use Thunderwave, and it will never use Attract, so it's always using Swift. So crit Swift on Bugs Buntleby is 64%, which is really not good. The upside, well, there is no upside really, because if it crits and high rolls, Bugs Buntleby is dead. We do have Oranberry and Cheek Pouch, so I think we still switch to Bugs Buntleby so that we can keep health on Piplup. We could stay in for 1 turn and see if we get another hit. I don't think there's any downside to us staying in and going for another hit other than it's damage we don't really need to take on Freya, but Freya's not really coming to any other Pokemon in the fight. So I'm going to Stomp again. It's going to Swift, and then we might get paralyzed, but we'll see. Okay, it went for Attract. Damn it! I knew this would... Okay, I messed up again. I knew it would use Attract because we're opposite. We are opposite. Okay. So I got lucky there because it used Attract and we got infatuated, which means that not only did Freya just break through infatuation, she also broke through paralysis. Neither of them triggered, and that is incredibly lucky for us because Minccino is gone and all of our Pokemon are at full health. I think Fanpy probably comes in next. Jigglypuff. Okay, I'm not sure why Jigglypuff came in here. But we have Jigglypuff out now. Jigglypuff is male, so because we're paralyzed, it probably wants to use Attract. So this would be a good chance to switch to somebody. Most likely probably Callum, because even though Callum Intimidate doesn't really help, he cannot get infatuated, and he has a cherry berry, but he's doing no damage to this Jigglypuff. He's doing some with Poison Sting, but we could Leer it turn 1, and Poison Sting is actually doing decent damage. So I think what we should do here is, because Callum has a cherry berry, we can switch him in on what's likely an attract on Freya, because Freya's female and Jigglypuff is male. Should always be doing either Thunder Wave or Round. Let's see. Or not Thunder Wave, Attract or Round. Yeah, so ignore this 85% because it doesn't see that it's paralyzed. And I don't know how to apply paralysis here other than change its speed to like -4. Yeah. So it still says Thunder Wave is high, but I'm paralyzed, so the odds are more likely that this is 33% and this is 67% to attract, most likely. Should never do Draining Kiss because we resist it, and we are fast. We're not faster, but it should never... It could use Round. There's a chance it uses Round. So let's assume it uses Round when we switch to Callum, and it gets a crit, which is really bad for us. But if it uses Attract, we're in a good position. So I think we switch to Callum, and we see how it goes, because I really don't want to try to risk hitting through Paralysis and Infatuation again, because we want to switch on this turn because it's higher likelihood that it's going to use Attract because we're a different gender. So I think the best option here is to go to Callum. So we switch to Callum. Hope it uses Attract. Intimidate doesn't really matter here. There. Wait. Oh no, Attract works no matter what. I forgot about that. That's really annoying. That's a move change. That's really bad. Okay, so now we're in a sort of a bad position. It probably wants to Thunder Wave us, but it may go for Round. So I'm just going to try to Leer it to lower its defense. Come on, Callum. Alright, good. Callum broke through Infatuation and got 1 Leer. So it's at -1 defense. There's Thunder Wave, and it missed. That is really good for us. Alright, so what we can do is we can still stay in, because it's not done any damage to us. We could start doing damage with Poison Sting, but it's not a guaranteed 3-hit, so I really want to do Leer again. Why is that still not doing... Callum. Why is the minimum the same? Alright, well... It really wouldn't change anything other than the high roll. So up here you can see that the minimum is 30.4%, maximum is 43.4 at -2 defense, but at -1 defense, it only goes up a few percent. So really we should just Poison Sting here and hope we hit through Infatuation. Just do a bit of damage. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to try to hit Poison Sting. Come on, break through again. You got this. Good. Alright. Alright. There's Thunder Wave, but we cure it with our Cherry Berry. And that means that it wants to go Thunder Wave again. So we can Poison Sting again. Come on, hit through Infatuation. Alright, so he got immobilized, which is not good. There's Thunder Wave, so we are now infatuated and paralyzed. We can stay in for one turn to try and do a little bit more damage, but it's really unlikely. But there's no risk if we stay in, because it cannot take us out with a critical hit round. It can only deal 54% with a crit, so we can stay in and try to hit it. There's nothing really wrong with that. So I'll try to hit it with Poison Sting. Yeah, there's round. It did not crit us, so we're in love and paralyzed. And we're immobilized. Okay, so that did... We're at 23. Alright, we're at 70%. Round can still not take us out, so... Second verse, same as the first. We're going to try to hit it with another Poison Sting. Alright, come on, Callum. Alright, we got infatuated again. That's unfortunate. We're at 14 HP. So we're at 42%. We are now in range of a critical hit round. So we have to switch to who is the question. Steenie's probably the best bet, but we want Steenie relatively healthy for Fanpy because Steenie is faster than Fanpy. So, and we did give Steenie a Cherry Berry, unfortunately. So a critical hit round only does 48%, so Razor Leaf does 28%. We did about 30% with Poison Sting. There's a chance we take it out with 2 Razor Leafs. So I think that we just switch to Steenie because Steenie... well... It is at -1 defense. Okay. Can anyone take it out in 2 hits? Go back to Freya. Freya can't. Unfortunately. Steenie can't. Pidgey definitely can't. Bugs Bunnelby could theoretically do it with Quick Attack, but he's already faster, so... Either Tackle or Quick Attack wouldn't really matter here. They would both be arranged to take out Jigglypuff, and he's taking way too much damage on the switch-in. So, either Steenie or Piplup, and I think Steenie takes less damage. 2 Plucks is guaranteed, though. So crit is 47% versus Steenie is crit 48%. So I think we switch to Piplup and Pluck because we get its Ordinberry. Yeah. That seems like the best option. So we'll switch to Piplup right now. We're going to take some damage from round. And Piplup is faster. Piplup has an Oranberry, unfortunately. So that means that Cherry Berry will paralyze us. But 2 Plucks should take it out. And we get rid of its Oranberry. It's gonna Thunder Wave here. Thunder Wave or Attract. Probably Thunder Wave. Yep, there's Thunder Wave. And we are paralyzed because we have an Oranberry. We just Pluck again and hope we hit through. Come on, Piplup. You got this. Alright, we got paralyzed. It's going to do round now, but we just Pluck. This is what we have to do. We just have to try to hit through. Good. Good job, Piplup. Alright. Jigglypuff down. and we have not used our Oranberry. So here comes Fanpy, and unfortunately Stomp is doing a lot of damage. So we have to look at Fanpy and Stomp. Alright, so Stomp's not doing too much, but it's faster and can flinch us because we are paralyzed, and we don't really want to deal with that. Callum, unfortunately, is low, so I don't want to switch him in. So what I should probably do here is try to hit a bubble to do some damage. Yeah, I just do bubble because that's the highest chance I have. There's Stomp, don't flinch. Oranberry triggers, which is nice for us. Excellent. Alright, so we hit through both paralysis and flinch. Alright, that did about 50%. So we are safe here because it cannot crit us, or it can crit with Stomp, but crit does not take us out because 29 HP is 76% and a crit Stomp never takes us out. And it probably just wants to do Stomp here. So we're going to try to bubble again. Alright, it attracted. That's fine. Because if we hit through, then it's on really low health. And we'll be in a good position. Alright, we are mobilized by love. So we are now infatuated and paralyzed. And Stomp can flinch. So there's 3 things that can stop us. But we're going to try to bubble anyway. And see what happens. Immobilized by love. Alright, so we're at 21. I just have to keep checking to make sure I'm not in range. Yeah, 39%. We're still good. 21 HP. So we just try again. We just keep trying until we get too low. Yeah, we flinched. So we're at 12 HP, which is too low. Yeah, 32%. Crit Stomp can take us out. So we now switch to Steenie. No, we don't fight. We could switch to Callum first, but Callum is at 10 HP, 14 HP. So Callum is at 42%. If we switch in Callum, we do -1 attack. Crit Stomp. Crit Stomp can take out Callum even through Intimidate. Yeah, so there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 16 chance that it takes us out. Yeah. With a crit Stomp. So let's say we switch into Steenie. Just straight away, crit Stomp does 48.6. So even 2 crit Stomps and we are faster cannot take us out. And 2 Razor Leafs always takes it out. And we have an Oranberry. No, we have a Cherry Berry because we wanted to be faster. So, but even with 2 crit Stomps, cannot take us out, and we're always faster. So we switch to Steenie. We switch into Steenie here, and Stomp is gonna hurt. But even crit, yeah. So we Razor Leaf, we're always faster. It'll probably attract. Oh no. It used Stomp. Alright, so we take out the Fanpy. And that is Lady Cindy. And you can see that she was very difficult to deal with. Maybe not as bad as that man with the Yanma, Mikey, Trainer Mikey. But it was still pretty difficult. But we got through it. 0 deaths still, which is really nice. Just have to go back to the Poke Center. And the trainers are just going to get more and more difficult from here. It's not going to get any easier, so we just have to be careful as we keep going. Alright, we take the items because we don't know what berries we'll need yet. And we're gonna save. And then where we're going next, I'm not sure yet. We have to check a couple things. Have to go back over here. So I think we have two options. Option one is we go into this house here, and there's a man that will take us on the boat down to a place called Dewford Town, which is where the first gym should be, if I'm correct. Or we can go up this way, and I think we can go into the forest, but there is a battle in the forest, and I don't know if it triggers straight away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the calculator, and there's a button down here that says next trainer after Lady Cindy. So who's supposed to be next is the Team Aqua Grunt in Petalburg Woods. So just in case he is right there when we try to go in, like he runs into us as he's coming out, we're going to plan... We could either plan right now, or we could go down to Dewford. So I'm going to go and see if the guy with the boat can take us yet. So I'm going to go back this way, and we'll see what the guy says. Okay, he's not here, so he's somewhere else. So that means we do have to go through the woods. So I'm going to get my Pokemon ready for another battle with Team Aqua Grunt. Once again, just in case it happens right as we go into the forest. I don't know if it does, but if it does... Alright, so Team Aqua Grunt may be the hardest battle in the early game, because already I can see that his Pokemon are level 11, and we've had a pretty decent level advantage the whole time at level 12. Now not so much. So, starts with a Carvana, with Bite, Water Pulse, Aqua Jet, and Poison Fang, which are all very annoying moves to deal with. Has a Oranberry, has Rough Skin, that means when he's hit with a physical move, you take damage. Is very fast, so the only thing that's faster is Freya, and we wouldn't want Freya out against this thing anyway, because Freya's weak to all of its moves. So, let's say we'd lead with Callum. Callum would intimidate it, so -1 attack. So even with -1, Callum is still taking a lot of damage and is not doing a lot back. So the most likely damage it'll be dealing is Bite. Could Water Pulse and confuse us, which would not be good. But we kind of have to hope that we intimidate once. It uses Bite. Let's assume it uses Bite turn 1. And assuming we don't flinch, I would want to use Glare on it to lower its speed, so that our Steenie would be faster and could take it out with 2 Razor Leafs. We might be able to get a Leer off. If we do get it to -1 defense, 1 Razor Leaf always takes it out. So theoretically, Callum, we could get to Aqua Jet range. So let's assume 20% is what, 13? No. 10. No. Alright, so unfortunately, there's no way to guarantee Aqua Jet because it just goes to random move no matter what. So Bite does 39%, so that would take us to 61%. Just above half. If it crits, it would obviously be 84%, which is really not good. Not what you want to see. So honestly, what we should do turn 1 is just Leer, because if we get through the flinch, so Bite can flinch us and Water Pulse can confuse us. Either is not good for us. If we dodge either of those and we get Leer on it, that is good for us, because then we can bring in Steenie and one-shot it with Razor Leaf, even though we're slower. But the only downside is it's faster, and crit Poison Fang, high roll crit Poison Fang just takes us out. So it's going to use Poison Fang no matter what, because it's faster. And I don't think we have a way to slow it down, unfortunately. So Steenie is going to have to dodge a high roll crit. Yeah, she's going to have to dodge 1 in 6. It's a 1 in 16 chance for Steenie to die. And if Steenie dies there, we pretty much lose, because Steenie's the only one that can take care of this Carvana for us. So, and that's at -1 attack, by the way, is that crit. Crit ignores stat drops, by the way. But if it doesn't crit, we could theoretically survive 2, even though we wouldn't need to. So assuming that we do take it out with Razor Leaf, obviously Steenie would have an Oran Berry to heal. Unfortunately, kind of unfortunate that if it doesn't crit, it also doesn't trigger Oran Berry. But next would probably be Krogunk, because it has Fake Out and Belch, which is a very dangerous move. Execute doesn't really have anything for Steenie, so it would probably be Krogunk. Belch, absolutely. Although if we've taken 48%, then we're at 50, either 52 or 51. So it wants to use either Belch or Fake Out turn 1. I can't really stay in. I feel like Fake Out is probably always going to happen, but I can't risk that happening. So, well, let's see if I can find... There's the AI document. Alright, so... It is faster than Steenie, so... It would definitely come in. It would be switched in. So we have to figure out which move will be prioritized. So because it's faster, I feel like it's disincentivized to use Fake Out because it's already faster and it always sees Belch as a kill on Steenie, so it's probably always going to use Belch. I don't really see why. So if a damaging move kills and the AI mon is faster, an additional +6, so it's probably always using Belch, which is really unfortunate because it's a very powerful... It's 120 base power, poison type move, that only works when you have a berry to use, and it uses that berry, which is nice, because then it can no longer use the Salic Berry, which... Let's take a look at what Salic Berry does. Yeah, so when a Pokemon holds a Salic Berry, its speed stat will be boosted if it gets below a quarter health. So below 25%, Salic Berry triggers, and it doubles its speed, basically. Or it gets either +1 or +2 speed, I'm not sure. It gets very fast. So what we would have to do is we switch... Callum is in first position to reduce Carvanha's damage by 1. And we basically have to do this no matter what. We give an Oran Berry to Steenie. And then what we would have to do is on Belch, assuming... So Callum, turn 1 against Carvanha, -1 attack. We have to take 2 hits from this, so we're taking a minimum of 60%. So we'd be at 40% health. Not 30%, 40%. Come on. Alright, so we'd be at... %. So we'd be at either 14 or 13 HP. Let's assume 13. And does that survive Belch? No. I mean, it can survive Belch, but high roll Belch... Well, okay, so here's the thing. If Carvanha deals... So it deals 70% or 30%... Let's assume 39% turn 1, so that takes us to 61%. And then 39% turn 2 would take us to 31% minus 9 is 22%. So 22% would be 7 HP. And then Oranberry takes us back to 17. So we'd be at 52%. If we get high rolled. If crits happen, Callum is dead. We can't really play around that because, yeah, crit bite, 1 crit bite or 1 flinch and Callum is dead. Water Pulse is a little bit better chances, but not by much. 57 plus 39 is 87 plus 9, 96%. So there's a chance we survive a crit if it does Water Pulse twice. But assuming that we get 2 high roll bites and not crit into high roll, Callum survives on 17 HP, giving it a much better chance of surviving Belch and also intimidating Croagunk. Assuming it uses Fake Out for some reason, it would do 18%, which would take us to 52 minus 18 is 42 minus 8 is 34%, which is down to 12 or down to 11. So from there, again, Belch will always kill if we switch into a Fake Out, unfortunately. But we shouldn't be because it always sees kill with Belch. Unfortunately, we are not faster, so if it does use Fake Out for some reason, we can't switch anything else into a Belch. We have to stay in. And we would lose Callum if it uses Fake Out. But because Steenie is slower, Steenie has 20 speed, Krogunk has 22. Because Steenie is slower, and it sees Belch always kills no matter what, it should always use Belch, and there should be no chance it uses Fake Out, because we're slower. So, we just have to assume it's not using Fake Out here. And we have to switch Calumet to the Belch so that it uses its Salac Berry. And we would be at 17 HP. It would be at -1. It would use Belch. Belch crit. So a Belch crit could still take out Callum, unfortunately. But it would use the Salac Berry. So we're risking a crit on Callum, but we're getting rid of the berry and the Belch. So after that, it can no longer use Belch because the berry is gone. So it's probably going to use Rock Smash. So we want to switch to Piplup on the Rock Smash so that we don't get our stats lowered. So Rock Smash crit is 47%, unfortunately. And Pluck doesn't guaranteed take it out. And we are slower, so we'd get 2 Rock Smashes, but it wouldn't lower defense. So switch in on a Rock Smash, most likely. We take either 23% or 47% from a crit. 23% is obviously preferred. And then Pluck twice is the best chance to kill it. But there's a chance we get poisoned because it has Poison Touch. So Poison does 1/8 damage every turn. So 38 divided by 8 is 4, 5, between 4 and 5. Yeah, so it's probably rounded up to 5. It's doing 5 damage every turn. So assuming it does Rock Smash, crit is 47%, would take us to 53. So take us to 20, and then we take 5 from Poison, so we're at 15. Another crit Rock Smash, or even just low roll crit, could take us out. We would get Oranberry on crit Poison. So assuming we do get crit poisoned, it would take us back to 25. And then it would Rock Smash again. 47% would be 26 minus 7 is 19. Yeah, so it would take us to 19% if it high roll crits. And 19% is 7 health. Yeah, it's about 7. And then we would Pluck and we would deal 50% to it. And we're still slower. If none of them crit, we can take it out potentially with 2 Plucks. So we kind of just have to hope that's what happens, because if not, we're going to have to switch into a Rock Smash, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So it's Calumet on Carvana, and then switch to Steenie after a Leer. And then Krogunk comes out, we switch to Piplup on... No, not... We don't switch to Piplup, we switch back to Callum on the Belch, because Belch should always kill Steenie. And then we should be able to take out Krogunk with Piplup. And then Execute comes in. It is slower than Piplup, It has Ordinberry, it has Harvest. Harvest means that there's a chance that whenever it uses its berry, it gets it back. It's just a random chance. And then it is always... It's a 50-50 chance between Bullet Seed or Bubble, or Bullet Seed or Confusion on Piplup, which really seems weird. I feel like it should use Bullet Seed, but because if Piplup is at such low HP, it's 50-50. If I'm higher HP, so let's assume that we get... we don't get crit Rock Smash. It would still be high roll 31%. It would be intimidated because of Callum on the Belch. So 23% times 3 is 69, round up to 70. So we would be at 30% HP after Oranberry. So we would be at about 12 HP. So yeah, it's always Bullet Seed, even 2-hit Bullet Seed. There's like a 3% chance it can be Confusion, but that's so low. So it's probably always using Bullet Seed, which means we could switch into Freya on a Bullet Seed. If we switch into a Confusion and we get confused, things could get a little dicey. But assuming that doesn't happen, Ember pretty much always takes out Execute, and then we can put a Cherry Berry on Freya to prevent Stun Spore. So here's what we have to do, is lead with Callum, who has a Oranberry for better survival chances. And then we want to Leer the Carvana. And then we switch to Steenie, who has an Oranberry for better survival. Because Carvana is always faster. And then after Carvana's down, in comes Krogunk, which we have to switch back into Callum, and then go to Piplup. And we give Piplup a Oranberry. We could give Piplup a Pechaberry in case he gets poisoned because of the poison touch from Krogunk. Honestly, I think that's probably better because with such low HP, poison is just doing so much damage. It does 5 damage every turn, I'm assuming, because it was 4.75, so I assume it rounds up to 5, the closest whole number. So Pechaberry on Piplup seems like the better option. And then we can just pluck until Krogunk goes down. And then when Execute comes out, we just switch to Freya. And Freya gets a Cherry Berry to avoid paralysis. I mean, we could switch to either Freya or Periwinkle. It really doesn't matter, because Bullet Seed does very little to Freya and very little. It does a bit more to Pidgey, but yeah, Gust is doing way less damage than Ember is, so we would switch to Freya. And then if we really need to, we have Bugs Bunnelby in the back with really low damage quick attacks. But he's only faster than Execute, so he would, if for any reason, yeah, I don't think we're ever using Bugs Bunnelby, but if for some reason we do have to, we're gonna give them Oranberries, just in case. So we'll give you We could switch to Pidgey on Krogunk instead of Piplup. Let's calculate that for a second. So Pidgey versus Krogunk at -1. It can no longer do Belch. Gust is doing okay damage, but it's not a guaranteed 3-hit, whereas Pluck is just better damage overall. So I don't. But if Piplup gets in trouble, we can switch in Pidgey. So both Pidgey and Bugs Bumblebee get Oran Berries, just in case we need to switch them in for some reason. Alright, so one more time is lead with Callum, intimidate the Carvana, hope we don't get flinched or confused by Bite or Water Pulse, use Leer to reduce defense, switch to Blueberry on a Bite or a Water Pulse. It will then... Okay, so the downside is that we're switching in Steenie on a Bite or Water Pulse, and that's doing a lot of damage. Yeah, so unfortunately, well, at -1, because Intimidate. Yeah, so it's faster. Poison Fang has a chance to flinch as well, so if Poison Fang flinches us, we basically lose. Okay, so it only has a 50% chance to poison. It cannot flinch. Nothing here says it can flinch. So that's good for us in the sense that, you know, it cannot flinch us and make us do nothing for a turn. The downside is that because of Intimidate, unless it gets a crit, it is not doing over half HP, so it's pretty much always doing Poison Fang, so it might be better to give Blueberry a Pecha Berry. But we're not really using Blueberry on either Krogunk or Execute, so Oranberry might be better. I think Oranberry's the better option because if it crits on the first attack with the Bite, right, 89%, that would take us to 4 HP, and then Oranberry would take us to 14, which unfortunately Poison Fang would likely always kill anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we give her. But if it's not a crit and it does 40%, then I mean, if Bite crits, then we're done anyway. So we have to hope that Bite doesn't crit on the switch in. And if it does Bite High Roll, we're still out of regular Poison Fang damage, but again, crit can always kill. So, and then it's not even... So 60% is... No. Yeah, we're at 22 about HP. Take us down to 60% from the Bite when we switch in. And then Poison Fang can only kill us with a crit from there, and we always kill with Razor Leaf, so We just have to hope we don't get crit, and any berry we give her doesn't really matter because either way we'll still be in crit range. So once again, let's check. Callum has the Oranberry. Blueberry has the Oranberry. Piplup has a Pechaberry. And Freya has Cherryberry. We are going to save here, just in case it's right inside the forest. Don't think it is, but if it is... Alright. Yeah, see, he's right here. He runs out. So, I'm glad I did all that prep, because I had a feeling something like this would happen. Let's hope that this goes well. Okay, Carvana. We intimidate, so it's -1. This will help a little. And then we have to hope that we either do not flinch from bite or do not get confused from water pulse. And we have to leer. Don't flinch. Okay. So, unfortunately, we flinched on turn 1. So, we are at 21 HP. So, it's most likely to use Bite again. Bite crit can absolutely kill us. We have no other play here. We have to get Leer. We have to do Leer on this. Because... 24, the only other Pokemon who could even outspeed this and get a defense drop is Freya. And Freya does have a Cherry Berry, so she cannot heal. And a Aqua Jet crit can kill her. So if Callum gets flinched again here, we lose Callum. We have to sacrifice Callum, otherwise the rest of the Pokemon will destroy us. So we have to risk Callum to a critical hit. Please do not get flinched. There's Oranberry, so we may have another chance. Okay. We got the Leer. That is good. Defense -1. We can now switch Callum out to Blueberry because we're at 19 HP. It should... Where are you? Here we go. 19 HP on Callum. No. There's Callum. -1 attack. Alright, it's always using Bite, which unfortunately means that we're switching in on a Bite. Okay. So, it is at -1. -1 attack, -1 defense. We have to hope for no flinch, no crit on Steenie. So that's what we're doing here. Alright, that's good, but do not confuse. Do not confuse. Do not get confused. Okay. That is good for us. Now we just have to hope that... Okay, so I think we're okay because we only took like 4 damage. So we're at 92%. We're at 31 HP. So there's a 1% chance it uses Bite here, so most likely going Poison Fang. Poison Fang crit can kill us, but it's only... it's a lot, actually. Yeah, Poison Fang has a very high chance to take us out. It has like a 1 in... There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 16 chance crit kills. So 1 in 3 chance that crit kills, basically. So we have to either hope that it doesn't crit, or that it does not roll the 1% bite and get a flinch. We have to Razor Leaf here, it's our only option. So we're going to Razor Leaf. Don't crit. Okay! There's our Oranberry. Razor Leaf should always kill here. We calculated this. Yes, okay. Razor Leaf took out the Carvana. So last but not least is the Execute. And Execute probably always wants to do Confusion. Okay, I forgot about Krogunk, obviously. So it should always see kill with Belch. We're at 25 HP. That should not make a difference. We are slower than it. So we're slower than Toxicroak. Or slower than Krogunk. It should always see a kill with Belch and never fake out. So we have to switch to Callum, who is at... We have to check what Callum is at. Callum is at 19 HP. So Callum at 19. The only downside is, once again, if it uses Fake Out after being intimidated, does 18%, so down to 40%. So it'd take us to 13 HP, which means High Roll Belch could still kill us. But we have to switch to Callum here anyway. Callum still has his Oranberry. He has not used it because he's not got to half health left. So we go to Callum to bait the... Well, here's the thing. If it uses Fake Out on this turn, it never uses Belch on Callum, which is a bad thing. So we have to basically hope that it's using Belch, because it always sees a kill, a fast one-hit kill into Blueberry with Belch. It does like 110% minimum damage. So... And it is faster, so it should never use Fake Out. I'm banking on the fact it's not using Fake Out here, because if it uses Fake Out, we are in trouble. Because it still has its berry and it can still use Belch. So I'm really hoping it uses Belch here. Please use Belch. One time, use Belch. Please use Belch. Fuck. Okay. It used Fake Out. Okay, so I guess the AI always does Fake Out turn 1 no matter what, which is really not good. So now it's never using Belch. Now it's using Rock Smash. Or now it's always using Belch, I suppose, because we are at 8 HP. It says it's always using Belch, and unfortunately, I don't think anyone takes a Belch. Full HP. Yeah, so unfortunately, we have to risk someone here. So I think the best option is either Bugs Bunnelby or Periwinkle. So Periwinkle only dies if it gets a high roll or a crit on Belch. So I think we have to switch. What is Freya at? Okay. Crit Belch could take out Freya. It's 1 in 4, so 25% chance to crit take out. So there's a 25% chance it takes out Ponyta, well, if it crits, so there's a 1 in 16 chance that it crits, and then there's a 25% chance that it takes it out, so I'm not sure what that math adds up to, but it's really, really low. So 1 divided by 16 is... Where's the calculator? Why did I close it? Okay. So 1 over 16 is 0.06% chance to get a crit. And then a 25% chance. So 1 in 4. So do I multiply it by 1 in 4? So times 0.25? Yeah, so there's a 1 in 100 chance, basically. Or 1 in 1,000, I think, of it killing Freya with Belch. But so I think we have to risk Freya here, because Freya has the highest chance of surviving, because Freya, I believe, is at max health. Yeah, Freya's not taking any damage, so Freya takes the least amount of damage from Belch, and it should never see Rock Smash here, because even though Callum is at 8 HP, there's a 0% chance for Rock Smash. It always wants to use Belch. So Callum is at 8. We have to switch into Freya here. And hope. Hope and pray. Alright, here comes Belch. Why? Okay, what? Is it just disincentivized to use Belch? Alright, I'm assuming it's disincentivized to use Belch because it wants to use the Salic Berry for the speed boost. So, because Rock Smash just happened, I assume it's going to do that again. So now we just switch to Piplup on another Rock Smash, and Pluck will potentially get a 2-hit. Where are you? Here we go. Alright. So what's the... Let's go back to Callum real quick. Callum... Rock Smash would never have killed even... A crit could have, but we could have leered the Krogunk there and had no issue. But such is life. We're going to switch to Piplup. And it's going to Rock Smash again, probably. Yeah, there's Rock Smash. We pluck to eat the Salic Berry. Did I put on a Pecha Berry? Yes, I did. And this is why. To get rid of the poison. But there's a chance I get poisoned again, because I have to hit it twice and it gets to hit me again. But thankfully... We eat its Salic Berry, so it cannot use it. And we get the speed boost. So we are now faster, I believe. I don't think it really matters. Because +1 speed. We are faster, and Pluck just takes it out. So that was probably the best thing we could have done. Pluck should just take it out. And it does. So... Now, last but not least, is Execute. And it should always see Bullet Seed. Piplup is at 24. And we've already used our berry. So we're at 24 HP, 63%. Yeah, it's always using Bullet Seed, even on a 2-hit. We are faster, so we can do some damage with Pluck, but there's really no need to do that because we can switch to Pidgey, Periwinkle the Pidgey. The only thing is that if we Pluck, we can get rid of its Oranberry and heal. So I think we stay in for one turn, we Pluck, we get rid of its Oranberry, and then we switch. It's really scary because a 5-hit always takes out Piplup, so it's really, really dangerous. So even if I'm at max HP, or I'd go to 34, because plus 10 HP, 5 hits, yeah, 5 hits always takes me out with Bullet Seed, so I would really want to switch to Pidgey, and assuming it gets a 5-hit, it can do some decent damage. It's really not good for me. And unfortunately Freya got poisoned because I thought it would use Belch and it just never did. So Bullet Seed is really annoying here because I wanted Freya, but Freya got poisoned. So I have to risk the crit with Piplup or just straight switch to Pidgey. And then it's never using Bullet Seed on Pidgey, it's using Confusion. So I think switching to Pidgey is the right move, because it's always using Bullet Seed. So we switch to Pidgey. It should do Bullet Seed. Hopefully it only does a 2-hit, but it's random. There's 1 hit. There's 2 hits. There's 3. Please stop. Okay. So we could have stayed in with Piplup, but now we just have to Gust here. We got a crit. It uses its berry. Oh, it uses Stun Spore. We would be paralyzed. Okay, we are paralyzed. It's going to use Confusion, so we just use Gust here. Oh, it used a Leech Seed. Alright, that's fine. Hopefully we hit through. We don't, so now we have to switch again. Alright, this is getting really bad because we have to switch, and our team is not looking good. It's Leech Seeded and paralyzed, so it's not using Leech Seed or Stun Spore, so it's always using Confusion. Alright, so we have to calculate Confusion damage. Can never switch into Callum. We could switch to Steenie, but Rapid Spin is basically no damage. We could get a Play Nice off to reduce Bullet Seed damage, because we are faster. We come in on a Confusion, hope we don't get confused. We are faster, so we get a Play Nice in. It probably uses Stun Spore. And then if we do -1 attack, it's always Confusion, and then we're kind of in the same situation. We could start chipping away with Rapid Spin, and Rapid Spin knocks away Leech Seed. Not that it matters, because it'll never Leech Seed Steenie. I think we switch to Steenie. So even though she's at 25... So she's at 25. She will take a fair amount from Confusion, but I think she still has her berry. I don't remember if she used it. I can check. She has used her berry, so we are faster, but there's really no point because a crit Confusion could just take her out. Not immediately, but it does 32%. So that takes us to 36%, yeah. A crit, and then we're faster, but then we're at 20%, so we switch in on a confusion, we could just get confused. And then we're not any better. So it, I believe, still has its berry. We're leech seeded, so we have to switch no matter what. We could switch. Bugs takes too much damage. 38% to 47. Yeah, it's like, it's really bad. And it's doing no damage. We are faster. It's not intimidated, is it? I don't think we lowered its attack, did we? I don't remember, which is bad. I think we just switch to Bugs Bunnelby and do a double slap. We could Leer, but does that help us? No, not really. I think we have to switch to Bugs Bunnelby and just do double slap. Switching in on a confusion. Alright, come on Bugs, you got this. Don't get confused, don't get crit. Okay, 21 HP. Yeah, we're just... It's probably going to Stun Spore. It sees Stun Spore as the highest move because we're faster. The only problem is that it will use its Oran Berry once we attack, so... We just have to do double slap and hope. So, we do double slap here, we're faster. More than 2 hits, please. There's its berry. 3. Alright, we hit 3 times. It used Bullet Seed. Come on. There's our Oranberry, so we get healed a lot. Back to full. Cheek Pouch, plus 10. Yes, we're back to full. 2 hits. 3 hits. 4 hits. Yeah, so we would have been done without the Cheek Pouch. So we cannot stay in now because another 5 hit would take us out. So at 16 HP, it should always be doing Bullet Seed, I believe. Yeah, it's very low chance to do Confusion. So I think now is a good chance to go to Steenie, who is at 25 HP. 25. And then we are faster. It can regain its berry, which is really bad, so The issue is that she just does no damage. She does 10% with Rapid Spin, and Razor Leaf even less unless we crit, which doesn't even do that much more. So Rapid Spin is doing basically nothing. But Callum, even if we switch in Callum, he's at 8 HP. And if he switches in on a Confusion, he's just done. But if we do, and we Intimidate on a Bullet Seed, on a 5-hit Bullet Seed, there's still a chance we die, because the high is 30%. So there's once again, a 1 in 16 to crit. And then there's a 3% chance to use Confusion instead of Bullet Seed. So there's basically a 3.5% chance that Callum bites it, because it could randomly use Confusion on Bugs Bunny. Blueberry will survive no matter what, but she does no damage back. So even if we put in Callum, he is faster, but he doesn't do enough damage because the Execute is at... It's taken like 40%, maybe. Yeah, it's at like 22 HP, so Bite doesn't even get close to taking it out. We may have to try and do risk Bugs Bunny here, because Bugs Bunny is at 8 HP? No, 16. He's at 16. So there is still a high likelihood for Stun Spore because we're faster. But it didn't use it last turn, so it's probably not going to use it this turn. So Confusion can take him out, but it's a high roll. So it's 1 in 16 plus all rolls of crit take him out. So there's basically a 1 in 16 chance that Bugs Bunny gets taken out. He's not intimidated, so yeah, it's just using Bullet Seed, and Bullet Seed always takes me out. Not if it gets a 2-hit. We could get lucky. We are faster, so I think we just have to risk the Bullet Seed here. It's the highest chance we have for survival to just do that little bit of extra damage. So if we get a 5-hit, we can't even take it out unless one of them crits. So 2 hits. So here's the thing. A 3-hit or higher Bullet Seed always takes out Bunnelby. So there is like a 75% chance that Bugs Bunny bites it here if we leave him in. So Bugs Bunny is actually a lot more likely to die than if we switch in Callum, which is really weird to think about, because Callum would get the Intimidate, and then Bullet Seed would be taking no damage. But because we're at 16 HP, there's a 3% chance for Confusion, which would not take him out except for High Roll or Crit. So there's higher survivability if we switch to Callum. But I really don't want to risk Callum here, but we can't switch into anyone else because they're all too low. We may just have to risk... So here's the thing. If we switch in Callum and he survives, barely, it's always using Confusion. And then we would have to switch again, let's say to Freya, who is at 23 HP. So 23. So she's at 68%, switch in on a Confusion. Deals either 35. Yeah, it's just too much damage because with the poison we take 5 automatically. But Ember does do 48%. And I think that wouldn't take it out because it's at 59. It's at like 22 HP. So Ember wouldn't even take it out, and then Confusion plus Poison could easily take us out. Does Piplup take any less damage from Confusion? Not really. 23 to 31. It takes a little less, and then Pluck... Should have plucked the berry, but Pluck is doing so little damage to this thing, and Bullet Seed just absolutely destroys Piplup. So... we're in a real pickle here. We either have to sacrifice Bugs Bunnelby for a little extra chip damage, or we have to risk Callum. And I don't think I want to risk Callum because it has Intimidate. So Bugs Bunnelby might just have to take one for the team to do that little bit more of chip damage. So Bugs Bunnelby with 2 hits of double slap is doing minimum 16% from that, so 43%. And then Ponyta can come in and finish it off with Ember. So yeah, we have to stay in with Bugs, and we have to do a double slap. That's how we get out of this with not risking Callum, because it can randomly go for Confusion. There's a 3% chance it goes for Confusion, which isn't a lot, but if it does, we lose Callum. So it's a question of, do we want to risk Callum or do we want to risk Bugs? And I think we risk Bugs here because it can randomly use Confusion. That's literally the only reason. If there wasn't that 3% chance to use Confusion, I would switch to Callum. If it was guaranteed Bullet Seed on Bugs Bunnelby. Where are you? So it actually says there's a 0% chance to use Confusion. Not really sure why. Oh, because Bugs is at too high health. He's at 16 health. So 16 is, again, 3%. And even if we switch to Callum, he is at, again, I'm sorry I keep doing this, but I have to triple check everything. He's at 8 HP. So Intimidate happens. Again, five hits could take him out. So it would be either 5-hit Bullet Seed or any crit with Bullet Seed or Confusion. So, but Bunnelby most of the time gets Bullet Seed. So, and that extra double slap makes it so that it takes it, even if it's at 62%, 16% takes it to 52 minus 6 is to 46%, and we always deal at least 48. So Bugs Bunny, yeah, we have to do the extra chip damage with Bugs Bunny because even if we switch in Callum and Intimidate, it's always using Confusion on the switch, and then whatever is in cannot do enough damage to outpace this execute. Everything takes too much damage. So we have to do double slap with Bugs. And of course it only hit twice. If this only hits twice, Bugs is safe. Bugs can survive. But he does not. And we've lost our first Pokemon. I'm sorry, Bugs. Maybe I just didn't plan it correctly. I probably messing up on the Krogunk with the poison absolutely messed us up, because if I didn't mess that up, I could have switched Freya in on a Bullet Seed, and then I may have been able to just now, but I couldn't risk the confusion happening because she would take too much damage from confusion. So, yeah. Unfortunate that we lost Bugs Bunny there. But Ember should always take it out. And we are through, but not without a sacrifice. It was absolutely not necessary. It's because I messed up on the Krogunk. I thought it was going to do Belch, but it never did, and it got Freya poisoned, which meant that I could not risk switching her into a accidental confusion by the execute. So, even though it was only a 3% chance, and it was pretty much always using Bullet Seed there, I could not risk it. So unfortunately, we did lose Bugs. And it's a shame too, because he was a really good Pokemon. And I'm really mad that I messed up on the Krogunk, because I was so scared of that Belch. I kept trying to get Belch to happen, and it just never did. So, that's on me. Well, if we lose our run, which seems like we might, at some point soon, we will know that Krogunk pretty much never uses Belch. Man, I'm really sad I lost him. Anyway, we just have to move on, keep moving forward. That's all we can do. So we can no longer use Bugs Bunny. That execute was a lot more dangerous than I thought, because I couldn't use Freya. I should have just... I was so scared of that Belch that I let it mess me up in other ways. I got poisoned. If I had put a Pecha Berry on Freya, it would have been fine. And here's the man who is the captain of the boat. So he's going to take us on the boat, and he's going to take us to Dewford Town. okay. So, yeah. Yeah, we're going to Dewford. And this is where the first gym will be. And all things considered, Bugs Bunny is probably the best Pokemon to lose there. Yeah, rip Bugs. Because he was a normal type, and normal types are bad in this gym because it's fighting. And fighting is good against normal. So, of all the Pokemon we could have lost there, Bugs Bunny was probably the best. But there was a way we could not have lost him if I had planned better. Or if I wasn't so afraid of Belch. Alright. So, I am going to look up the picture for Dewford Town. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. So, there's no trainers in the town itself, which is what I wanted to make sure of before I did this. But now we have a chance at a new encounter, which I'm going to look up right now. Alright, Pokemon locations, Dewford Town. Okay, so we can either go in the grass here, which there's a 5% chance for Krogunk, 5% chance for Stuffle, 5% Metatite, 5% Makuhita. Alright, so all of these Pokemon are fighting types in the grass, which will be useful against the rock type gym that is after this, but not particularly useful in the fighting gym itself. So, taking a look at the fishing in Dewford Town, we have Staryu at 5%, Shelder 5%, Choodle 20%, Spheal 20%, Carvana 10%, Horsey. Okay, so all water types, makes sense. Staryu, obviously the best encounter here. Starmie is incredibly good later in the game. I wonder if Staryu gets the move Confusion. Where is it? Here we go. Let's look up Staryu. Alright, so Staryu gets Psywave, which is not what you want to see. It's a random power move, so there's no predicting how much it'll do. It gets Psybeam at 18, but that's too late. It evolves via Water Stone. We don't even know where we'll get a Water Stone, so Staryu probably not what we want to try to fish for. So all of these I'm not very impressed by. Choodle does evolve into Dreadnought, which is a water rock type turtle. Not very good for the fighting gym, but very good into the rock gym. So really all the encounters here seem to be good for the next gym and not for this one. And it's really a matter of, do we want to go in the grass or do we want to fish? I'd say we probably go in the grass, because routes 106 and 107 I think are right outside Dewford. Let me check. So route 106 is up here. That's where we just came from. And Route 106 has different encounters. Let's see. So we could wait to surf, but the only difference to wait and surf is Wailord. That's the only difference. I suppose Wailord is good, but you can see it has Starmie, Dreadnought, Celio, and Walrein, which are all evolutions of Spheal, Choodle, and Staryu. And there's a 10% chance of Staryu on 106. And then 107 is a bit too far east for us to get to right now. but it also has better surf encounters. So what we could do is we could fish on 106, the route north of us. Get one of these. Most likely Choodle, that's 40% for Choodle. And then 10% Shelder, 10% Staryu, and 40% Spheal. So probably either Spheal or Choodle is what we'll get if we fish on Route 106. So it's either fish or wait to surf, and none of these really help us with the fighting gym, unfortunately. So we could do that. We could fish. And then there is a 40% chance for Horsey on 107. Which we'd probably want either Horsey or Carvana, but Carvana is 20. And then Remeraid's 40%, so it'd be most likely either Horsey or Remeraid. So I'm thinking we probably fish on Route 106 to get a water type. Because we need something for the rock type gym that's coming up. And all we have is Steenie, the grass type. We do have Piplup, which is a water type, so... but do we really want to wait to surf? That's way, way down the road. Is level 50. Level 50 to surf. And that's not till after the 5th gym, I think. So we would be waiting a long time before we got one of these encounters. So I think fishing is probably just better. We also get another encounter up in Granite Cave that's up here. And that's obviously what we want from Granite Cave is Togedemaru. Togedemaru is far and away the best encounter, 5%. I guess Sandile is pretty good, but Togedemaru has a really good typing in Steel and Electric. There's only 3 Steel types here, Aeron, Togedemaru, and Qfant, all of which will be good because Steel types are very rare on this and very good. But Togedemaru also has the ability Iron Barbs, which means when it gets hit with a physical attack, it hurts the opponent, and then Spiky Shield, which protects it and also hurts the opponent. So Togedemaru is very good. But I think what we want to do is we could fish in all 3, but if we fish in Route 106 first, then there's a chance that we duplicate out one of these, which means that if we get one of these here, we cannot get it here. We run and we get a new encounter. So if we get Choodle over here, Choodle is removed. Oh crap, what did I do? There we go. Gosh darn it. I'm just messing the whole thing up. There we go. So if we get Choodle here, we cannot get Choodle here, which would make Shelder and Staryu more common. Let's see. What I really don't want is Remeraid. I don't want Remeraid from either of these. So I think I probably want to get a fighting type. Fighting types are generally pretty good overall. So I think I'll go in the grass first and get a fighting type. Because I need one for... If I get one for the rock gym, I'll be set. Because I'll have a grass type, a water type, and a fighting type. Which are all strong against rock types. And then I'll get a steel type in Granite Cave. Oh crap, okay, that's not what I meant to do. So I'll be set for... Well, here's the thing. So you'll see that Granite Cave has 3 areas. First floor, basement, first floor, basement, first floor, and basement, second floor. And the better encounters, I suppose, are in the second basement. These 3 are not separate areas. They all count as the Granite Cave encounter. So I have to pick what I get. And there's a lot of options here. So at least I think that's how that works. Steven's room is separate because it's a separate thing entirely. But because this is all Granite Cave, I only get to pick one of 3. And I think generally you want to go for the ice type because ice types are better later on, I think, but I really don't know. There's also Togedemaru. There's a 10% chance for Togedemaru on basement 1, so I'll probably do basement 1 because there at least I have an option of ice types or a steel type. Geodude Alolan is an electric type. It's a rock electric. So probably basement 1 is what I want to do for Granite Cave because there's a chance of Togedemaru. But first I have to do for Town. I'm probably just going to go in the grass to get a rock type or a fighting type. I'm just trying to see if I can do any manipulation here. Because if I choose to fish on all 3 routes here, I can pretty much get 3 water types. The only issue is what order do I put them in? Because they all have a lot of the same. They all have Spheal, Shelter. They don't all have Spheal, but 2 have Spheal, 2 have Choodle, 2 have Staryu. So, and then 2 have Carvana. So and again, I don't even know if I can get to Route 107 because Route 107 is over here and I can't get over there right now. So really it's just Route 106 and Dewford. So I think what I'll do is fish on Route 106 and then just go in the grass in Dewford. Know that took a while, but just trying to plan out encounters. So we are in Dewford Town here, so we have to go... Alright, so this is Route 107, so I could fish here right now. So I have to look back at this. I think the play is to... We want Horsey because Kingdra is really good in the late game. Carvana is really good because it evolves into Sharpedo. And Sharpedo gets a Mega Evolution, which is very fast and hits very hard. And it may get a move called Flip Turn, which lets you switch out. So if there's a way for me to get Carvana here, I want to try to do it. So I think what I should do is I should do 106 first. and then come back. But the only issue is that I do 106. I do 106 first. And then I would do fishing in Dewford Town to potentially get a dupe for this. There's basically 2 chances to get Carvana. 10 and 10 is 20% chance. And then if I get either anything I get here makes it so that I increase the encounter chance by 10% for Carvana here, because all of these, Sfeel, Choodle, and Staryu, are all 10%. So if I get Sfeel, I remove Sfeel from over here, so... and so on and so forth. So I could try to do that just so I can get Carvana or Horsey. Both are pretty good. And then... but the only issue is that if I do that, I'm stacking up with water types. And that's really bad for the electric gym, which is the 3rd gym, which is Demon. It's terrible if you don't have a ground type. So if I do all this water maxing right here, like maxing out my water encounters, I will then only have so many areas. I will only have so many areas where I can get ground type, like in Granite Cave is one, and then in Steven's room I could get a ground type, but Rustboro City I could potentially get a ground type. So there are some chances, but I want at least one ground type, so getting all these water types is scary, because it means I have less options for the electric gym, which is why I'm kind of a little bit afraid of getting all water types right now. Well, before I do this, I need to see the trainers in the cave. So there's Route 106. We have to fight 2... there's another heart scale right here, which is good. But we have to fight 2 fishermen, Elliot and Georgie. Or Fisherman Elliot and Hiker Georgie. We have to fight 2 of them. And then Granite Cave... there's no doubt fights in Granite Cave, so we have to find it. Alright, so here's Granite Cave 1. Basement 1. No trainers. Basement 1. No trainers, but there is a TM that we can get, Rock Blast, which is really nice. No trainers, but a lot of ladders. Okay. Basement 2. Alright, so there's no trainers in Granite Cave. But there are some items we may want to get. The Nevermelt Ice, Everstone, Icy Wind potentially. And then Steven's room, we don't have to fight Steven, we just have to get there. So there's no trainers in the cave, and that's what I was checking, because if there were, we would look up what the Pokemon were and we could plan accordingly. But for Fisherman Elliot, let's go ahead and look up what he is. Okay, so Elliot is actually above the level cap. He's at level 13, and he's got 3 Pokemon. So we probably don't want to do him right now, because we are under-leveled. So we probably have to do the gym first, because the gym level is max 12. That's what the gym leader is. So let's look up Brawly. Or, actually, we have to look up Duford Gym. It's in here somewhere. Alright, so there's actually a lot of pictures here, so I'm just going to check them out to make sure we don't get jump scared by any hiding trainers in all the houses or the Poke Center. If they're a trainer, they'll have a name next to them, so I'm just checking all the areas to make sure we don't get surprised by anybody. So we can pretty safely go talk to everyone in town if we want. And then in the gym, we have to... I don't know why it doesn't say what fights there are. Okay, so it doesn't say what the gym trainers' names are. I don't know why. So we're gonna have to figure out what their teams are. So if we go to Aqua Grunt, right? He's in here somewhere. We just fought him. Here we go. So we go to next trainer. Okay, so Fisherman Elliot is listed as the next trainer. Let's keep going. Ruin Maniac, that's the hiker, or the guy standing by the cave. And then after that is... I don't understand what is happening. Because all my Pokemon are level 12 and I can't figure out who the trainers are in the gym. They don't have names in their picture. But what we have to do is we have to... Well, let's check our Pokemon. And I'm pretty sure they cannot be leveled up. Alright, I'm gonna save. I'm gonna save here, and I'm gonna try the Endless Candy on Callum. And if Callum levels up, then I will reset, because I'm not supposed to be above level 12. So if this works for some reason, it shouldn't. Okay, I don't know why... Okay, so I need to look up what Brawly's move... So I could have just leveled up. I'm stupid. I don't know why I thought the level cap was 12. I guess the cap was 12 until after some point. I don't know what point that was, but yeah, so the fighting leader's level cap is 20. So we could have just leveled up Bugs Bunnelby and been fine in that last fight. Unless the Aqua Grunt was the level 12 cap. Okay, so I suppose I can level up now, but I'm not going to do that just yet, because I'm still planning out my encounters. So there's no trainers in the cave, but looking at Brawly's team, it's all fighting types and one normal type. So The one fighting type, if we catch that in the grass, would be good against his normal type. And the dark type he has on his team. So it might be worth it to go for the fighting type just to counter those two. Because as it is right now, we don't really have anything for them. So what we may have to do is we may have to go in the grass over here to get a fighting type. So we can have a fighting type move for the fighting type gym, ironically enough. And then I'll just... I think I'll fish on routes 106 and 107 because they're entirely different encounter tables, so there's no overlap. That does give us a 40% chance for Remoraid if we fish over here. But what we'll do first is we will... Alright, so we're fishing for one of these on Route 106, so we have to go up to Route 106. Alright. I didn't mean to do that, but I'm gonna stop because I need to know what level everything levels up, or what level everything evolves, if anything evolves. So we're gonna go up to Route 106. Not due for town, Route 106. Here we are. We're going to go in the bag. And we're going to fish after I save, of course. So we're hoping for Choodle here. Choodle would be really good. It's one of the most common encounters. Alright, let's see what we got. We got Spheal. Alright. So Spheal was 40% chance, so it's that and Choodle were the highest. So we got Spheal. It's level 8, I'm level 14. First, let's check what this thing's moves are, so we don't accidentally get hit by an Ice-type move. Alright, this thing gets Encore. It still has it. Or 1, 2, 3, 4... No. Dang it, it doesn't have Encore, because it only knows its most recent moves, so unfortunately it doesn't know Encore, which is really unfortunate. It does not know Ice Ball. It's level 8. It does know Charm. And it can learn Brine. Alright. No ice moves. It can learn Rollout, which is scary. So I basically have to throw balls and hope that it catches it. Yeah. Wait, why does it have Powder Snow? Oh, that is an ice move. Gosh darn it. Okay, I missed that, which is unfortunate. So, it has Water Gun also. So, switch to Pablo. Remember, if we don't catch this, it's a lost encounter. And we just hope it doesn't start using rollout, which now it will because it's the highest damage. Yeah, unfortunately. I don't think a pluck will kill it. So we pluck once. Yeah. Okay, it's using water gun. I think pluck crit might kill it. So we'll pound. Alright, it's using rollout, so now we have to do Pokeballs and hope it gets caught, because rollout starts doing a ton of damage. Excellent. Alright. We caught Spheal, and this is our first new teammate in a while, so we get to nickname our Spheal. It is male Spheal. Any suggestions on nickname for Spheal? I think Spheal is pretty decent. Depends on what ability it has. Can actually check what it gets. So it either gets Thick Fat, Oblivious, or Ice Body. A Torben. Alright. We will name Spheal Torben. Unfortunately, this is not good into the fighting gym because it will evolve into a part ice type, and ice is weak to fighting. So yeah, it's already part ice type, which means it's weak to fighting type moves. And rock type moves, unfortunately, so... And electric, so this isn't going to be very good into the next 3 gyms. Thick Fat is nice, though. Bashful is neutral. Check IVs here. Okay, they're not great. 31 attack doesn't really matter. 3 HP is really not what you want to see. 4 special attack sucks. Decent special defense and defense. So it's alright. Alright, so we caught Spheal. Next we have to catch our fighting type, which we will go in the grass and we will catch a fighting type here in a second. But Spheal should be useful some point later. Not right now. Unfortunately. But it does remove Spheal. Well, it doesn't really matter because we want our fighting move from here. It really sucks we didn't get Choodle. Well, he would have been weak to fighting as well, but we want a fighting type, and then we can fish Route 107 and get one of these 3. Most likely Remoraid, unfortunately. So we're probably going to get Remoraid and not either Remoraid or Horsey. Personally, I'd prefer Horsey. So we will catch the fighting type first. We'll lead with Callum. And we'll go into the grass here. This should be Dewford Town. Okay, this is really, really, really good. Okay, this is good. Okay, so not only does it have the ability Inner Focus, but it has a Galarian Farfetch'd is a flying fighting type, which is very good into the fighting gym and it's just a good typing overall. And its evolution is also very good. It gets really good moves. It's just a good Pokemon to have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Poison Sting to do a little bit of damage. And see what it does. Sand Attack. Alright. Let's see what this thing's moveset is. Alright, well. There we go. So it has Pluck, Sand Attack, and Leer. That is not good for me. It should be... Okay, it could have had Inner Focus or Scrappy. Either one would have been good. But look at these moves. First Impression, Close Combat, Leaf Blade, Dual Wing Beat. All these are incredible moves to have. You just have to wait, maybe. Brick Break at 28, Knock Off at 32, Defog. So it does get all the same moves as its pre-evolution, and you don't have to wait that long between them, so we'll probably just evolve it when we get to that point, but I was Sand Attacked. We'll Poison Sting one more time. Crit. Leer. Okay, that's a bit scary. So even if we crit and poison, we will not kill it. Maybe. We are -1. I'm going to switch to Piplup. Just so Callum doesn't get crit by a Pluck. Alright. That doesn't do anything to Piplup. We're going to Pound. Pound should not take it out. Yeah. Leer doesn't work. Alright, so now we're going to start throwing Pokeballs. Hopefully we catch it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so close. Come on, get in the ball. Come on, that's your home. You don't want to go to your home. Alright, come on, get in the Pokeball. You know you want to. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. We caught Farfetch'd. This is really good for us. This leveling up here doesn't really matter. We were gonna level up anyway. But now we will need a nickname for male Farfetch'd. Personally, I think this one looks like a Uthar, but that's just me. Any suggestions for male Farfetch'd? This Pokemon, I know I keep saying this, but it is probably one of the best encounters we could have gotten here. Oh, did I do something? I feel like I did something. So, something's happened with my chat where I tried to, it's on live chat, so all messages should be visible. But I'm not seeing... All I'm seeing is Watch Captain Alain, but it's not on top chat. So I just saw makes sense to me, but I didn't see what makes sense, and I'm not sure what's happening. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not sure what's happening here. If Noel put in a nickname, I'd like to know it, but I can't see it if he did. Ah, I see. Alright. Yeah, apologies, I don't know how much lag there is on the stream. So, I'll go ahead and name him Uthar. Transfer it to the box. But yeah, this Pokemon gets... It already has Pluck, which is an excellent flying type attack to have in the fighting type gym. And it was only a 10% chance, as were several others, but I'm really glad we got this. This is probably the best thing we could have gotten from here. So we're going to go ahead and check it. We want this thing to have good stats and be plus attack, because that's what it cares about. So we're going to check him right now. And then after we check him, we have one more encounter, I believe, over at Route 107. Lonely. That is increased attack, lower defense, which is good for us. We want heightened attack. The IVs are important, so let's see. Ugh. 9 attack. That really stinks. 14 HP, 15 special attack, 21 special defense, 30 defense, 13 speed. Oh, all around, not bad. I really wish that attack stat was higher. But other than that, I'd say it's really good. And then, of course, it has Pluck, Sand Attack, and Leer. So he is definitely going to be part of the party. Unfortunately, I don't think Torben will be part of the party for now. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to level up Piplup once. Or, well, let me check something first. I have to check Piplup's moveset. Alright, so at level 14, learns Bubble Beam. At level 19, learns Aqua Jet, which we probably want Aqua Jet, because it's a priority move. And we'll learn it before the level cap. So what we can do is we can delay evolving Piplup until level 19, since the level cap is 20. And that way we will get Aqua Jet before the gym. Whereas if we do evolve it, we will miss out on Aqua Jet until level 21, which is after the gym. So, but we do miss out on Metal Claw, which I really don't think matters unless it's the only Steel type move we'll ever get. Which eventually Piplup does evolve into a Steel type. Yeah, but it gets Flash Cannon when it evolves, so we don't really care about Metal Claw. Flash Cannon is much better anyway. So we're going to delay Piplup until level 19, and then we're going to get Aqua Jet. We have to remember this. Delay to 19, get Aqua Jet. So, we're going to do that here so I don't forget. Learn Bubble Beam. Yes. Okay. So, we are going to get rid of Pound in favor of Bubble Beam. And remember, Piplup is going to try to evolve, and we're going to stop it. Oh. Or not. No, we do not want to evolve. So we're hitting the B button. Hopefully this stops it. Yes, okay. So we're going to have to do this for a few more levels, unfortunately, until we get to 19. Yeah, we have to do this every time because we want Aqua Jet for the fight, for the gym fight. Because it's a good priority move to have. Okay, now it says the level cap is 17, which I don't understand at all. So whatever the next level cap would be is 17. Probably the trainer, maybe? But we'll stick with it for now, and then we're going to go over to 107 and catch one of these. Looking for Horsey or Carvana. Do not want Remoraid. That guy just blocked me 3 times in a row. Don't know if you saw that, but a little bit annoying. So we're going to save here. And then after I save, I'm going to try to catch a Pokemon. I'm going to check my Pokeballs first to see how many I have. That's not correct. We have 13. That should be more than enough. Leading with Pablo. And we're going to fish here. Hoping for Horsey. Oh, Carvana! Even better. Alright. So this should be good for us. We're going to bubble just to do a little bit of damage. Oh, okay. That did way more than I thought it would. I'm glad I didn't click any other moves. Kind of forgot we were double its level. Now we just start throwing Pokeballs and hope we capture it. 1, 2, 3. Alright. We caught Carvana. Also, unfortunately, Carvana not very good for the fighting gym because it's part dark type, which is weak to fighting. But we do need a nickname for Carvana. Personally, I think this evolves into a shark. I'm thinking Hildren. I'm thinking Hildren is a good name for the shark. It is male. Could also do, Frederick, yeah. I think Frederick fits better for a shark. So unfortunately, of the 2 water types we caught, neither of them will be coming to the gym because they are both weak to fighting type moves. But we are going to check Frederick right now. And we want Frederick to either be improved speed or improved attack. Lonely, which is the same as Farfetch'd. Increase attack, lower defense. And we're going to check the IVs here. Okay, this is really, really good. 21 attack, 19 HP, 24 special attack we don't care about, and 26 speed. That's really, really good for this. That's what we wanted to see. The 3 most important stats were attack, speed, and HP. Minimum defense and minus defense means this thing is very, very frail on the physical side. But it's very fast and will hit very hard. So that's good for us. So, now, what we're going to do, or what we will have to do, is next time, we are going to have to get to Granite Cave. And that requires us getting past 2 trainers, a Fisherman and a Ruin Maniac. which we can see right here, Elliot and Georgie. There's a heart scale and a piece of Stardust, both of which we will get, but we will be doing that next time. So for now, if you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you guys on Monday. Thank you for watching.